All right, we are reconvening from closed session where direction was given and no action was taken. We are back in open session. Stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Looking for a motion to adopt the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Hatley? Yes. Councilmember Pittman? Yes. Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper? Councilmember Goodson? Vice Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, we're moving into public communication, hearing of non-agenda items. At this time, the council will listen to members of the public that wish to speak on any item. Thank you.
No, it's easier if it's in there for me. Barbara Williams.
Mr. Mayor, we have Miss Barbara Williams.
Hi, everyone. I'm here today to ask that fireworks be made illegal for purchase and use in the city of Oroville. I don't need to tell you that we live in a high fire area. While the use of fireworks is illegal in the county, they are set off at the lake, surrounding area, and Thermalito. I've heard from many of our neighbors that Kelly Ridge seemed like a war zone due to the enormous amount of fireworks going off into the early morning. If you don't know, a fire was started at Riverview Drive and Heritage Road on the 4th, the result of fireworks. It was extinguished quickly, but firefighters were dispatched to the area. You may know many of our neighbors have had their homeowners insurance dropped due to recent fires, and for us, our property insurance went up 30%. This may have happened to some of you. So-called safe and sane fireworks are anything but. They're incendiary devices, and it only takes one to start a fire and destroy everything in its path. The 84 lives lost in Paradise and destruction the fire caused is a constant reminder to us all. The day after the 4th, we received notification from the city to prepare for fire season and PG&E shutoffs. We were told to get bags ready for possible evacuations. Why then would the sale and use of fireworks be legal only a day before this notification, when they are counterintuitive to everything we know about fire? In 2018 alone, 19,500 fires were started in the United States. We have fireworks shows in the casinos and city put on each year.
I'm sorry, ma'am, your time's up.
Thank you for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Mayor, we have Mr. Dewey Harvey.
Good evening. I'd like to talk about the Father's Day, the 27th, or the 20, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. In particular, a house at 3950 Zephyr Way was creating a lot of noise, and I complained to the police, and the police came up and shut it down at 10 o'clock on Friday. I understand Saturday it has to go until midnight. But I went down to the city, and they gave me a copy of the 90.1 20.30 residential property noise limits. And if you guys could reduce that to match your things that you've adopted, I would sure appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. City Administrator, are there any more speakers?
Is there anybody else that would like to address the council on non-agenda items? I've got one more. Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, we have Pastor Ron Legata.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Ron Legata. I last year bought a house on 1630 Elgin, and being a licensed electrician in my past, I noticed that there were some areas that were of great concern for us. And I brought it to the attention of the building department, and I want to say that I thank the building department for an amazing job on our behalf, and say thank you. Sometimes thank yous don't come around often enough, but this was very big for my wife and I, and the city was there to take care of an issue for us. So thank you. God bless you.
We have no other speakers, Mr. Mayor.
All right, having no other speakers from the public, looking for a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
I would like to have item number 6 pulled, please.
Is there anyone else who wishes to have any items pulled? Having none, I'm looking for a motion to adopt the consent calendar with item number 6 pulled.
I'll second.
Councilmember Hatley? Councilmember Pittman? Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper? Councilmember Goodson? Vice Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
He left.
Vice Mayor Thompson, you pulled item number 6 from the consent calendar. Do you wish to comment?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Item number 6, voluntary salary reduction due to uncertain revenues for Bill Lagrone. My primary reason for pulling it is, honestly, if you wish to have your salary reduced, I'm fine with that, but I didn't think it was honoring you to just kind of let it slide by without it being at least noted. So things in the consent calendar can kind of just be brushed by, and so I understand your reasons and your thoughts, and basically just didn't want it to be slid by in the consent calendar. So can you maybe speak to it a little more?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I do appreciate that. I really believe that part of leadership is doing what you ask your people to do. We've asked people to give up real money. We've asked people that the 3% or the 4% that was due contractually in their contracts they were dependent upon and that they need. I felt it was important that if I'm going to ask people to do these types of things, then I better be prepared to do them myself. So I have voluntarily done that. You know, the city and the community and the council, the citizens of Oroville have always been very good to me, and so have the employees that have worked for me. They've always been very supportive. We've certainly had our differences over the course of time, but they're good people, and I want to stand with them. I want them to know that I have real skin in this game, and that it is important to me that we correct this as soon as we know what our revenues are going to be. And I will not ask the council to reverse or change this until such time as everybody else is made whole. So I just want them to know it's important to me, that each one of these employees that work here are important to me. I respect them. I appreciate what they do. I think their work is very valuable, and my work is no more valuable than theirs. So I believe that it's not only a responsibility of mine, but it's an honor and a privilege to stand with them. So that's what I'm asking to do.
So, just a follow-up there. So you had some words, until the other departments are made whole, you mean until they get the raises that we're looking at?
Correct. Until the city is able to know that we are sustainably able to fulfill our obligations to these labor groups, I am going to wait. I will be the last in the line. I will, unfortunately, I wasn't the first to step on the field, but I will be the last to step off.
Okay, so is there, I mean, this is kind of a discussion here, but is there a way for us to just kind of add, for today, if we're gonna, probably sounds like, I mean, it's on the consent, probably gonna pass, but to just automatically add it so we don't have to negotiate about this, so that when we approve, what, I think there's three specific, there's mid-managers, we have our,
We have our OCEA, our
OCEA.
OCMA, our OPOA, and our OFFA.
so 4.
Yes, sir.
And of the 4, which ones are still needing to be brought up?
We need to
Because I know we stagger them.
OCEA, OPOA, and OFFA all have set aside raises. The OMCA agreed to extend their contract with no financial consideration at this time because of the revenue shortage of the city. So we would have to restore 3 associations and be in negotiation with the third, and hopefully settled with the fourth, to make everybody whole.
That's fine. Okay, well, I appreciate your leadership and your model for the city and all that you do. I definitely know you do a lot for the town, so thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you, Mr. Legrand. Once again, you have proven that your heart is 100% for this city, and I just appreciate your leadership and volunteering, stepping up like that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to comment? Having none, looking for a motion to accept item number 6 on the consent calendar. Looking for a motion.
I don't have to.
I'll make motion.
Councilmember Hatley? Councilmember Pittman?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper? Councilmember Goodson? Vice Mayor Thompson?
Yeah.
Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
I almost thought maybe it's going to fail.
That was a very strange interaction. All right. At this time, we're going to open up for public hearings. So this meeting is now open for public hearings. We have one item listed for public hearing. Who wishes to comment on that?
Members, we have on the agenda the placement of the Oroville solid waste liens, which is now Recology. Every year we do this. It's due to the franchise agreement that we carry with them, that we put their overdue tax liens on the tax roll. So this is just an exercise that we do every year, and you have the list.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and Council, we did provide the council this, in the council chambers, with a hard copy of an updated list that we received yesterday afternoon, and we forwarded one to through email to our other council members. We have a representative of Recology is here if you have any questions. If not, then we will proceed with the item.
Does anyone have any questions?
I was just going to ask, how does this compare to last year? I mean, considering the economic stress.
It's
and
more.
we-
I think we had 391 last year, and I think we might have 491 this year, so it's a lot more.
So we're seeing some impacts. Okay.
Anyone else? Do we have anyone from the public who wishes to comment?
We have a representative of Recology here, so she is here to answer any questions. I'll check with her and verify that she doesn't want to make a comment, just answer questions. There is, nobody wishes to make comment, Mr. Chairman.
Having no more comments from the dais,
I do have just a quick question. So-
Councilmember Smith?
Thank you. So, given, you know, the economic times that we're in, what kind of negotiations does Recology, I mean, I'm sure there's some sort of process where, are people given some extra time? I know is that right now, like, for example, you can't foreclose on property, you know, some other things that have been done. I was just kind of curious if there's any other things that are.
None that I know of. The process that they go through is they send out a first letter that was done over a month ago, and then anybody has the opportunity, they get about a month to bring their account current or call in and say, you know, sometimes they've sold a property. They have a lot of time to clear away the bill if there's any problems, and then they get a second letter that is pretty much letting them know it's going to go on the tax lien. So they have a lot of time to make arrangements and do that kind of thing.
And technically, once it goes on a tax lien, I mean, you're, in a roundabout way, you're given opportunity, because then that's kind of pushed off. I mean, and a property, I think it takes 4 or 5 years before a foreclosure or a tax issue
Right.
ensues. So in a roundabout way, they're given time.
And Councilman Smith, just to be really clear with everybody who may be watching this, this is not a city bill. This is monies that are owed to the company of Recology, who has collected trash for the last 12 months and the payment hasn't been made. The bills are, our role in this is we have a franchise agreement with Recology that says that when people don't pay their bills, they will come to the city each year, and annually they'll be placed on their property tax rolls for collection of those bills. So just for clarity, this isn't the city. We are conducting a process here to get this from Recology onto property taxes. I just want to be really clear with that, because oftentimes we catch the brunt of what others are doing, even though this isn't something that the city is actually doing. We are just conducting a process here. So these are Recology bills that they've occurred over the last year.
And I guess the nature of my question is just so the public, again, is clear that that we're not taking some sort of draconian action that's going to result in somebody losing their property or home. You know, there's a lot of time here, and just given the times we're in, I think it's important for the public to understand that.
Yeah, and then we collect the money and we pass it along to Recology when we get it.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments or questions? Having none, having no more comments from the public, I'm looking for a motion to adopt resolution number 8878.
I'll second.
Councilmember Hatley? Councilmember Pittman? Yes. Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson? Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
And with that, we will close public hearings. Moving on to regular business. Item number 10, the adoption of the 2021 annual budget.
Good evening again. Basically, there are no changes to the budget since we did the preliminary hearing. I just updated the organizational structure for the new departments that we created. Just want to speak really quickly about the sales tax revenue being our number one largest revenue source and the one that's under the most uncertainty right now. We did get our June remittance, and it's actually more than we had budgeted for. I'm very confident that in both the regular tax and the district tax that we are going to exceed our budget projections. It is a loss because we were on track to have our largest revenue for sales tax ever this year. So there is a loss. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know how you would ever figure out what it was, but we, say we were going to be 2.5% more than last year. We're just up 0.5%. So we did actually receive more. Statewide, I was on a webinar. Statewide revenue for sales tax was down 13% for June. So that might be the biggest loss you see, because it was for April, and April was probably the hardest hit month. And so we just now got that remittance in June, so hopefully that's an indication that it's not going to be as bad as we thought.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Thompson.
Thank you. So you're saying in other places, so the rest of the state,
Statewide.
it's 13%.
We're down 13%.
And so we
For
are.
June.
For June.
From last year.
Right.
But
And we're up a 0.5%.
we're up 0.5%
That's awesome.
from last year.
Right.
But we might have been on track to be,
Right, I
over
understand.
quite a bit more, but
Right.
we'll never know what that number was going to be. So, as for a revenue shortage, I don't think there is one. There's revenue uncertainty, and we're just going to have to watch it monthly like that and see what to expect.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments?
Yes, I would like to comment.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes, I'd like to comment on, Ruth just made reference to the organizational structure on the budget. And I'm glad she brought that up, because what I noticed when I opened up the budget, that on the second page, after the cover letter with the city logo, there's a list of the city council and department heads, city attorney, and under the city administrator, Bill Agrone, I noticed that Tom Lando is mentioned as an assistant city administrator. And I recall that we recently had a city council meeting on June 16th in open session.
Typo.
And the city entered into a professional services agreement between the city of Oroville and Tom Lando Consulting Services. The vote to approve of that was 4-3, and I was one of the 3 that voted no to approve a continuation of Tom Lando's consulting services and extend his contract for an additional 2 years, not to exceed $100,000 annually. So I went further, and as I looked under the summary of personnel in the proposed budget, there was a breakdown of positions that have been approved and funded for 2020 to 2021. And under the administrative services, an assistant city administrator position is listed as being approved and funded. With that being said, it just raises a question. And so to date, currently, the city employs 3 assistant city administrators under the city administrator, Bill Agrone. And Mr. Lando would make the 4th one on our payroll. I would like to add that Tom Lando, as an assistant city administrator, was never discussed, nor was it an agendized item.
That is a mistake that needs to be removed. It was a carryover from, I believe, potentially last year that just didn't get taken out of the structure. It will be removed from the structure before the final printing of the budget.
Any other questions, Councilmember Goodson?
No, but what I did understand Mr. Lagrone to say is under the administrative services, that position for an assistant will be taken.
If I could just real quickly,
out.
if I could just jump in real quickly, save you a lot of,
Yes.
that's Ruth's position.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Oh, I'm sorry, that is the position that Ruth Duncan currently occupies.
Okay.
She is the Assistant City Administrator who handles administrative services. She's also our Finance Director.
Correct.
So it's a little bit, I think the confusion just comes from the name change and then the typo in the front that shows that there's a position there that doesn't exist. We will remove that prior to the final printing.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Councilmember Hatley?
Oh, thank you. Under the, on page 3, under summary of personnel, it shows, we got that clarified that you're the one up here. But down here it says, Police Department Director of Public Safety. I know that he is also a assistant, and I was trying to see, there was one other that listed it in this portion as an assistant. I think it was Leo, but that was listed. Was that just?
I'll have to check on
The,
that.
I was just curious why it wasn't on there when
on,
everybody
on
else.
public safety, yeah, we need to combine those two and make a public safety director. There's an assistant administrator in charge of
Right.
public safety. Because, right, each one of them's half-funded, fire chief and police chief, which makes up the money for the public safety director. So they're 0.5 funded. So that's what that position is. It just needs to
No,
be.
no, I know what that is. It just wasn't listed as.
Right, no,
as
we need to
assistant.
correct that. Yeah, we
Yeah,
need to
okay.
correct that
Yeah,
name.
that's all I'm asking. All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I do have a question. So with the
Councilmember
revisions, will
Goodson.
this come back to us?
No, it will not come back to you.
Yeah.
We will make those changes.
Okay.
We will actually, when we're done with it, Councilperson Goodson, we will give you a hard printed copy, and you will be
Thank
able to see those changes in there.
Great.
And we'll
Thank
also
you.
provide you with an electronic copy. That way you have it readily accessible to you wherever you may be.
Are there any other questions or comments? Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this item?
There are no speakers, Mr. Mayor.
Having no more speakers, I'm looking for a motion to adopt resolution number 8884.
I make a motion that we adopt resolution 8884, resolution of the Oroville City Council adopting the annual budget for fiscal year 2020, 2021.
A second?
I'll second that.
Councilmember Hatley?
Yes.
Councilmember Pittman? Yes. Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, moving on to item number 11, purchase of materials and contracted labor for use generators for essential facilities during public safety power shutoffs.
Good evening, council. Back up here again. Yeah, this is the final piece. We're coming back for the final piece on the emergency generators that we're going to use as backup power for all of our essential services during the PSPSs. We received 300, just in brief review, we received a $300,000 grant from Cal OES through the Public Safety Power Shutoff Resiliency Allocation. We came to you with a purchase of the generators, which is about just under $240,000, along with some transfer switches to go with those of about just under $17,000. This is the final piece. This is the labor and materials to get that power put together, so we can have plug-ins for these mobile generators. The total for that, the low bid, we had multiple bids, but the low bid from Cascade was $49,850. That brought us to a total of $306,282.83. So it's $6,200 and 83 cents, $62.80.83 over the 300,000. So we thought it was prudent to come back and just make sure we got direction to go ahead and proceed with this. And so that's what we're here to do, and so I'll read this real quick. It's for council would consider approval of the proposal from Cascade Electric for the installation of 2 transfer switches at City Hall and Oroville Public Safety, as well as the purchase of 2 transfer switches for these locations for the intended use of generators as backup power for the public safety power shutoffs.
Just so we could just add some information for the council too, just to refresh your memory, these generators are going to be mobile, so that in the event that the power generator at the public safety building goes down for some reason when there's a public safety power shutoff that's occurring, we'll be able to pull the generator from that would be located at City Hall to the police department, plug into the transfer switch that we're requesting to purchase there, and back up the backup. The generators will not remain on site at the facilities here. They will be moved to the corporation yard so that they're secure, so that there isn't tampering or vandalism that's caused to the generators by being in unsecure areas. So I just wanted to refresh the council's memory that these are going to be portable generators.
So our recommendation would be to authorize and direct staff to execute the agreement with Cascade Electric for the installation of two 400-amp automatic power transfer switches at City Hall and Public Safety for the intended use of the generators as backup power during the PSPSs, and approve the purchase of the 3 transfer switches for City Hall, Public Safety, and the Courtyard, including the needed materials for purchase of $16,951.89. So that totals $306,282.83.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on this item?
I just have one.
Councilmember Smith?
Thank you, Leo, for just the forward thinking of hardening our infrastructure so that we have redundancy in our system. And at the same time, both the pieces of equipment can be used, 2 different buildings, but in cases, I think, Mr. Legron has pointed out, I think that's just real forward thinking. I appreciate, looking out for the folks, looking out for us and our ability to, meet an emergency on top of an emergency. So I just appreciate, your forward thinking on that. Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? Do we have any comments or questions from the public?
The only comment I have is from Terry. She would like to have a generator, but other than that, there's no public comment.
Having no more comments from the dais or the public, we're just looking for a motion to direct staff to execute the agreement with Cascade Electric.
So moved.
Councilmember Hatley? Councilmember Pittman? Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson? Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Moving on to item number 12, Olive Glen 162 sewer repairs.
That's me again. As we've expressed in the past, we have a really deteriorated sewer line going across 162 to service the Olive Glen neighborhood. This has been going on for some time now. I got to the point of being an extreme emergency to a point where if both our pump stations turn on at the same time, we couldn't get an illicit discharge above surface grade. So we've gone out to bid on this, and we've collected bids from Cox and Cox. They were the low bid to replace this, doing a line burst technique on this. So what we're here to do tonight is to give staff recommendation to award this contract to Cox and Cox Incorporated for the $80,469, authorizing the mayor to sign the contract. That's what we're looking for. If you have any questions, I'm here, and Matt Thompson is here as well, the city engineer, to answer any questions you might have with regard to this.
Is there anyone that has any questions or comments on this item? Having none from the dais, do we have any public comment?
There are no comments from the public, Mr. Mayor.
Having no more comments from the dais or the public, we're looking for a motion to direct staff to award a contract to Cox and Cox Incorporated.
So moved.
I second.
Councilmember Hatley? Councilmember Pittman? Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson? Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, we're going to move into these landscape and lighting maintenance districts. Mr. Attorney, I'm going to let you comment on who needs to recuse themselves at what time, being that we all are property owners.
Mr. Mayor, I think it's going to be, I think Leo would have a better grip of who it's going to be. I mean, our attorney could probably advise us as to the reasons why and
Well, he had
when
a
someone
certain
should.
order he wanted it to go in, is why I'm saying that.
Sure, I can comment on that briefly. So we're dividing these into 4 items. When there is a council member who owns property in one of the zone items, they have to be recused for the entirety of that particular item, including the discussion. That's why we have 4, so that we don't do them all at once and lose a quorum and, have to get into the order of how people should recuse, because we don't need to do that if we divide them up a little bit. The staff reports are going to be effectively the same. If you are recusing, you need to state the reason for the recusal. That's probably typically going to be property ownership if it's your primary residence, because the California Public Records Act doesn't require disclosure of your primary residence detail. You can just indicate that it's your primary residence. If it's another property that you own, you'll have to give the address of the property, and then you must leave the room for the entirety of that item. You can come back for the next item. That's the process for each one of these 4 and why they're divided this way.
And Mr. Mayor, what we've done is Leo will advise the council as to staff's best advice as to who should recuse themselves from each particular item. Those will be individually presented. That will be done prior to any presentation. And then once that's done, I will come back out, get the council that has been recused themselves if they've chose to do so, and we will move to the next item and recommend the next recusals. Prior to the meeting, I provided each of the council members and the council members that are telephonically appearing copies of resolutions. We did make some changes to the resolutions that were originally published because we had to regroup them to ensure that we had everybody that is not voting on a situation that could potentially put them in jeopardy with the FPPC. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. DiPaolo, and he will make his first recommendations as to which council members should recuse themselves from item number 13.
City Attorney, my intent was to just introduce the title and the zones included, and then make the recommendations on who should recuse themselves. And then we can go back, once they leave, we can go into the reading of it.
That will be fine.
Okay. So this first one is a resolution of the City Council initiating proceedings preliminary approving the annual assessment report declaring its intention to levy and collect assessments for the Oroville Consolidated Landscape Lighting and Maintenance District for fiscal year 2021. This one would include, this portion would include zones 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 11, 15, 16, and 17. At this time, I'd recommend that Councilman Pittman, Mayor Reynolds, and Councilman Smith would recuse themselves from this item.
Vice Mayor Thompson, will
You're
you
okay on this one?
handle this item?
You're okay on this one. It'll be the next one you'll be the next one you recuse yourself.
I don't,
Pittman's, Reynolds, and Smith.
What address am I being recused for?
You're being
You want us
recused
to
for
state if it's-
the Bluffs. Is the one, oh, this is your home address. This is your property address.
It's one of my homes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, and residency
And this
for
is
me.
residence, and this is residence.
Primary residence.
Yes.
Primary residency.
This is on the
This is
consolidated.
item number 13, Mr. Hatley.
Question? You've got item 14.
Attorney?
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor.
So,
Yeah, you'll be.
Leo, are we talking about one of the areas here being where Orange meets Orodam?
No, yours will be on the next one.
I know, but is this one we're talking about now? Is this including the area of Orange, and Orodam?
Orange and yes, it will be on that.
So does that matter because I'm on a board of a property that's in that zone there?
No, if you don't have an ownership interest in the
Okay,
property and
no.
it's just a management function, that would not qualify you for a recusal requirement.
Pastor of a church and on the board.
No, that'll be okay.
I don't own it.
No, it's okay.
Great. So,
Okay, so now we have our quorum as the two virtual,
Pardon me?
Councilwoman Draper and Councilman Goodson, and Councilman Hatley and Vice Mayor Thompson are our quorum. So should I read this in complete now?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So whereas the city council has by previous resolutions formed and levied annual assessments for the special maintenance district pursuant to the terms of the Landscape and Lighting Act of 1972, the 1972 Act, being Division 15, Part 2 of the Streets and Highways Code of the State of California, commencing with Section 22500. Said special maintenance district is known as designated as the Oroville Consolidated Landscape and Lighting Maintenance Assessment District, the districts hereon. The district is comprised of several zones which are identified below. I will state those again. 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 11, 15, 16, and 17. Whereas the city council has retained Harrison Associates for the purpose of assisting the annual levy of the district and to prepare and file with the city clerk an annual assessment report, the report for the district in accordance with the 1972 Act, and whereas now being presented to the city council as a report required by the 1972 Act, and whereas the city council has carefully examined and reviewed the report and is presented and is preliminarily satisfied with the district, each budget item and documents therein is satisfied that the assessment amounts on the preliminary basements have been spread to the assessable parcels in accordance with the special benefit received from the improvements of the services provided. Now, therefore, the city council does resolve as follows. Section 1, the above recitals are true and correct. Section 2, Annual Assessment Report. The city hereby orders Harrison Associates to prepare and file with the city clerk the report concerned the annual levy and collection assessments for the district. Said levy and collection shall be for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2020 and ending in June 30th, 2021, in accordance with Chapter 3, Section 22-622 of the 1972 Act. The report details the improvements, any substantial changes to the improvements, the annual budget for each zone, and the proposed assessment amounts for each parcel.
Leo, can I cut in?
Sure can.
So I misunderstood your question about reading it in its entirety. With a resolution, you can adopt it without reading the whole thing, but I didn't want you to get out of breath and get all the way through and then have to do this 3 more times. So if you want to just read the title of the resolution, that will suffice.
Perfect.
Thank you very
I would like
much.
to read the title of this resolution. That's what I asked.
And to specify, we're on 13, which is including 1 through 10, 12, 13, and 15. Correct.
No, this is including zones. It was been revised. That's why I read them aloud.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I could, Mr. Vice Mayor, the zones are going to be the Grandview Estates, the Buttes, Deer Creek Estates, Cherokee Estates, Greyhawk, Cherokee Estates Phase 2, Foothill Estates, Mission Olive Ranch, Jake Richter Estates, Acacia Estates, and Feather River Bluffs. What you're approving is the assessment charge that is used for taking care of any publicly owned, I wouldn't say owned, shared space, such as landscaping, mowing, flowers, things that are around the entrance of these places, and the lighting, the street lights that are there.
Sure.
So that's what you're actually approving
Right.
with this motion in those districts.
Any questions on the item?
I should just reread the title on this one.
Sure, go for it.
That way I'm informed. City of Oroville Ordinance Number 8880, a resolution of the City Council initiating proceedings preliminarily approving the annual assessment report and declaring its intention to levy, collect assessments for the Oroville Consolidated Landscape and Lighting District and Maintenance Assessment District for the zones and number of names as follows.
Any questions? Any comments from the public?
There were no comments from the public, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Okay, looking for a motion.
I move that we adopt resolution number 8880 and authorize any necessary budget adjustments to the annual assessment report.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Hatley? Yes. Councilmember Pittman's absent. Councilmember Smith is absent. Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson?
Yeah.
And Mayor Reynolds is absent, so the motion carries 4 with 3 absent.
Jackie, would you please ensure that the minutes show that they are not absent, that they have recused themselves?
Yes.
Okay, the next item will be a similar thing for the other zones of Zone 4, 6, 9, 12, and 13. At this point in time, I'd ask that Vice Mayor Thompson and Councilman Hatley recuse themselves due to a residence in one of the zones.
So this is my primary residence, so I'm going to recuse myself.
It's my primary residence.
If we can have them come back in, yeah.
Leo, which agenda item are you now on? Is it 15?
This is 14 now. This is the second half of the, second half. So we have Vice Mayor Thompson recusing himself, Councilman Hatley recusing himself, and we've asked Mayor Reynolds and Councilman Pittman and Councilman Smith to come back into the room so we can have our quorum and vote on the next section. I'll read through the zones on this one. This is for item 14, City of Oroville Resolution 8879, a resolution of the City Council initiating proceedings preliminarily approving the annual assessment report and declaring its intention to levy and collect assessments for the Oroville Consolidated Landscaping Lighting Maintenance Assessment District for fiscal year 2021, including zone numbers 4, 6, 9, 12, and 13.
I would move to approve.
I'll second.
I'll second it.
Go ahead and record her as the second.
Which,
Goodson.
okay. Councilmember Hatley has recused himself. Councilmember Pittman?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson has recused himself. Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
Carries 5 yeses, 2 recused.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to call the next one out of cycle if I could, item 16, since the two councilmen who already recused themselves for the last item would have to recuse themselves on this next one, and we can go to 15 last, if that's okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. This is item 16, City of Oroville Resolution 8882, a resolution of the City Council initiating proceedings to preliminarily approve the annual assessment report and declaring its intention to levy and collect assessments for the Oroville Consolidated Benefit Assessment District for the fiscal year 2021 for zones 1, 4, and 5. That would include Linkside Place, Phase 1, Vista del Oro, and Calle Vista Estates Unit 2.
And Mr. Mayor, what this particular item is this is the maintenance that's necessary for the stormwater infrastructure, manholes, drain pipes, retention facilities that are located in these subdivisions.
All right. Is there any discussion on this? Having none, looking for a motion.
Move that we adopt resolution number 8882.
I second.
Councilmember Hatley has recused himself. Councilmember Pittman?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Mayor Thompson has recused himself. And Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
The motion carries with 5 yeses and 2 recusals.
And Mr. Mayor, if we could just make part of the record, there is no public comment on this item.
Okay. On this next one, I'd like Councilman Pittman and Councilman Smith, I think you would recommend that you recuse yourself on this. And if we can have the others come back in.
Okay. Again, personal residence. Residence.
So for the two that are out of the room, what we did is we moved 16 ahead of 15 because you both were on that list. And so this will be item 15 we're discussing now. It's the City of Oroville Resolution 8881, a resolution of the City Council initiating proceedings to preliminarily approve the annual assessment report and declaring the intention to levy and collect assessments for the Oroville Consolidated Benefit Assessment District for fiscal year 2021 for Zone 2, 3, 6, 7, and 8, which would be Foothill Estates, Mission Olive Ranch, Martin Ranch, Jake Richter Estates, and Acacia Estates, respectively.
Do we have any comment on this item? Do we have any public?
I'll second.
Do we have any
Nobody
public
has.
comment?
There is no comment, Mr. Mayor.
We have a motion and a second.
Councilmember Hatley? Yes. Councilmember Pittman has recused himself. Councilmember Smith has recused himself. Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Mayor Reynolds.
Yes.
The motion carries with 5 yeses and 2 recusals.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Waiting for 2 council members to return. Moving on to reports, discussions, and correspondence. Are there any council members that have any announcements or reports that they would like to share?
I'll take the podium for a second if I may.
Councilmember Pittman.
Well, first off, I'd like to congratulate staff on City Hall. It's noticeably better than it was in some past, so positive comment there. Secondly, the city folks, Public Works, Police, Fire, and the airport staff did a great job helping out with the fireworks show. Turned out to be, I think, a pretty good success at this point. And the public paid the bills for the better part of the fireworks contract, and the contract went well. And I heard that today numerous ones of our motels in town were filled up, which they had not been filled up before on the 4th of July. So we had a lot of folks come into town. But positive feedback for that so far. I just want to thank everybody that appreciate everybody's time and efforts with that event. It became a much bigger event, and we didn't know who was going to come. So, and especially the MLEs, they did a great job with working with the public. And I know many of the MLEs were dealing with public from out of Sacramento. They came up here just for the fireworks show. So that was a nice public relations effort for those folks to. I heard a lot of nice positive comments from those folks. So it was a good thing all the way around. And just kind of congratulations to the whole community, actually, in a lot of respects. So that's it.
Yes, it was a very nice show, and I'd like to thank you, Councilmember Pittman, for all of your hard work and efforts, sir. As a Rotarian, I know how much work goes into it, and Rotary takes the lead on this and puts this show together, but it's the public that pays for it and through donations, and just like to thank this community as well. So thank you, sir.
That's true. We had over 65 different donations. So everybody from the lady down the street for $10 up to many of our businesses in the community and individuals. So it was definitely a community effort.
Appreciate that. I'd like to thank Councilmember Smith as CEO of the Chamber for advertising and evangelizing this show. And thank you for all your efforts and hard work, sir.
Thank you.
If I may ask, how much
The total right now is 24,000.
695, something like that.
695, yeah.
Right in that range, yeah.
And I believe we had the only 10-inch mortar shells in the state.
That's true.
Yep.
And our expenses are around 21, 22 right now. So we've got most of the
Nice.
things tallied up. So if we have any left over, it'll be set up in an account for fireworks for next year.
Yes. Yeah, just to clear that up, that's what happens when funds are left over, is they're carried over to the next year, towards the next year. So thank you. Is there anyone else who has any announcements or reports?
I have something that. I just-
Councilmember Smith?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank all the various agencies as well that, kind of officially, unofficially, at least behind the scenes supported from CHP. I mean, they were very much, very helpful. State Parks, CAL FIRE, DWR, all those various agencies that we're so blessed to have in and around Oroville. Certainly, helped, and of course, that's a little challenging for them because of the orders from the state of California, and so that was a very delicate walk, and so I just appreciate all those individuals who, love our city, they live in our city, and so I just want to thank them as well. I think we'd be remiss not to say that. And then one other piece, we had public correspondence, and I just wanted to point this out. given my other job, other hat I wear over at the chamber, there has been a growing concern, no pun intended, with landscape and its maintenance of various businesses. And I know right now, obviously, things are very challenged for all of us, including our businesses. But it's also important to keep our best foot forward with maintaining landscaping in and around our town. You know, there's a responsibility that we all have in good housekeeping. And so I just want to encourage all of our businesses to, you know, keep things picked up, keep the trash picked up, keep the landscape maintained. And some of the public is noticing kind of a drop in some of those efforts. And so, you know, please, let's just do that. And it comes to the, and I just wanted to point out the kind of the mission statement of Oroville that all of us, I think, have taken on. And that is that, you know, we're here as public servants to serve our community and maintain that. But then the other piece of that is our vision statement, and in terms of where we're going as a community and casting that vision. And I think we're going to do more work in the future, hopefully, and more to discuss about, you know, where we're going as a community and as a town. But I think it's just important that, you know, for mowing our own personal lawns and maintaining, you know, good fire protection, distancing around our properties, just good housekeeping, you know, regardless of the times that we're in. I think all those things are important. And so I'm just asking our business community to step it up and do that. And I know that when that doesn't happen, that we do have code enforcement. And so just to the general public, those that have observed this and are concerned, that they're on it, the city's on it and addressing it. But just me personally, again, with my other hat that I wear, I'm asking, you know, let's step it up and, you know, maintain our properties.
And if we could add to that, Councilman Smith, the issues that we tend to be having seem to be with larger corporations that are not in the area that, for whatever reason, whether it's intentional, which I don't believe it is, I believe it's just lack of oversight of their local properties. We are working with them. We have active code enforcement cases with several right now. Some have actually reached the citation stage where they are actually receiving monetary citations. So those that write letters, we do hear your letters. We do read your letters. We take them seriously. The council has set policy regarding this, and staff is following that policy. But the one thing that we can't do for the individuals when we do receive these letters is we can't go out there and do their landscaping for them. That would be gifting government funds, and that isn't something that we just are not allowed to do. So, but we are working through the process with them. We try to cooperatively work with them and get voluntary compliance prior to moving to enforcement. Unfortunately, some folks are more resistant than others, and I think Councilman Smith said it very well. You know, when we're all caretakers of the community and we all have a responsibility for our small parts of the world. So I join with him and encourage those to please do take care of your part of the world in a manner in which your neighbor would be proud of.
I'd like to comment a little bit on that too. Since it's brought up, I'd like to remind the public that we are, as council members, we're policy makers, and we have set policies for the, in fact, it was on the 4 items, I believe, on the agenda tonight. We have set these policies, and we are working diligently to enforce them. So if it looks like things move slowly, that is the frustration of government, but just know that this staff is moving forward with all of the citations and fines and everything that accompany being out of compliance with this issue. So we see what you see, and we are working on it. So please don't think that you are unheard. Is there anyone else?
Yes, I have a comment.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes, I just want to give a thank you. It's very much appreciated to Councilman Eric Smith as he wears his other hat as the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce. The huge thing that the Chamber has done in the purchase and the distribution of masks to our local businesses in order to keep the community safe. So I just wanted to thank him for those positive efforts.
And Councilwoman Goodson, if I could add to that, just to make everybody aware, 3 Corps is going to have a large amount of mask and hand sanitizer that's going to be coming in. It's going to be shipped to the local public safety department, and then they will be distributing it from there for small businesses. I believe it's minority-owned businesses and businesses owned by women, I believe, was the criterion for that. So if there are small businesses out there that need the PPE, whether they are the mask or the hand sanitizer, please contact 3 Corps or the city, and we'll be able to give you an email address. It's also important for nonprofits. They can get the PPE from them as well, but there is a large amount that's coming from Cal OES there, which the chamber will be working with them as well. So, and we do appreciate the chamber. Also, Councilperson Goodson, thank you for reminding me of that and making sure we get that information out there.
Thank you. If there are no other announcements, we are looking for future agenda items. Is there anyone who has anything they would like to see on the agenda? Having none.
Wait. I was waiting for my microphone. Pardon me.
Vice Mayor Thompson.
Just want to be a squeaky wheel about that wall.
We will have Matt Thompson at our next meeting, so Matt can explain to you where in the process we were at with the wall. He's the engineer.
You promise?
I promise he will be here.
All right.
Is there anyone else? Having no other future agenda items, looking for administration reports. Mr. City Administrator.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I forwarded you something earlier today and handed it out. It was a notice from the state called CARES Act Relief Fund Allocations for Cities, City Managers. It was a application that was sent out to the city late last week. What it was making notification of is that through the CARES Act, the city of Oroville is eligible for $240,000 to offset the coronavirus relief the coronavirus impacts on the city. This is the $500 million that came from the federal government through the state to small municipalities. We are eligible for $240,028. We received this late in the week. The state is requiring that we sign a certification on the which was the last part of this. It's a certification for receipt of funds pursuant to paragraph 2 and 3 of the subdivision, which is essentially telling the state that the city of Oroville, we are requesting payment and that we are in compliance with the orders of the governor and the state health department. Those orders are typically around, that we are socially distancing, we are wearing masks, we're encouraging those to wear masks. As far as enforcement at this point, the governor did send a letter earlier this week requesting that we acknowledge that we can enforce. Right now, we are currently working with the county to bring back some sort of united policy that the council will have to decide whether we take a tact of enforcement or we take a tact of education and encouragement. So that will be coming, I hope, I spoke with the council, we'll be bringing that to you on the 21st of this month so that you can give us direction as far as the policy on that. Back to this letter, we are required to sign this, that we are certifying that we are following those rules, and this must be signed and resubmitted to the state no later than July 10th. So unless I hear some sort of objection from the council or the council asks for a special meeting to discuss this, I intend on signing this tomorrow and returning this to the state and then drawing down those monies that we will bring back to you with a strategy and a plan for what we intend on using those monies for at a later date.
Thank you. Mr. Lando.
Again, I'll be brief, but I did want to, there was an article in the paper that talked about growth and development, and frankly, I don't want to insult the paper because they print, but it was erroneous. There's a lot of interest in Oroville and the Oroville region, a lot of, even with the bump in the, due to the virus, people are looking at the Oroville area. In fact, we had a major developer meet with all our staff last Thursday, and I just want to correct that and say that there's quite a bit going on over here. There was an article last week that talked about the activity in Chico, and a realtor in Chico was quoted as saying that, paraphrasing, that nothing's happening in Oroville. That's a paraphrase. That's not precisely what he said.
Thank you. Leo?
Just quickly, I know I've been up here quite a bit tonight, but just to come on with with some of the code enforcement operations, and we've been working real diligently. We have only 2 code enforcement officers, and we've been really directing them toward the landscape and irrigation. Along the lines of what you were talking about as far as people reaching fines, we've had multiple large businesses that are now in the $1,000 fine range, which that ramps up. I mean, I'll just do a quick run through. 10 days on the first engagement, then it goes to a 15-day notice of violation trying to get voluntary compliance. From there, it's a $100 first citation. They have 10 days to comply. It goes to $200. They have 10 days to comply. If they don't, it goes up to $500, 10 days to comply, and from there it goes to $1,000. If it gets to another 10 days after that and they haven't complied, so they're $1,800 in, it'll be to $2,800, and we then lien the property at that point in time. So if it's not the citation dollar that'll hit them, maybe the leveraging against their property, so they can't pull money out of it, might help them. So we are taking this very seriously. We have some very visible areas of town that are on that track right now. They've reached into the $1,000 range now, and sounds like they're starting to get to a point where they're reacting. So everybody has their tolerance for fines, and I think we have to try to find that where that tolerance lies, and we prefer voluntary compliance, but if we need to issue citations, we'll do so to get compliance. So, just quickly with regard to the wall, bid came back very high, $2.9 million. So we're not sure on exactly why that happened. We're readdressing that and maybe trying to come up with something more of a definite plan to put out. So it's not so. It was a design build situation, and so we're trying to reach out and kind of engage on how we might put that back out to get the numbers where they're more palatable, I guess would be a good word for it. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Ruth? Last chance. Mr. Attorney?
Nothing for tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, well, that about wraps it up for administration reports. And with that, before we adjourn, I'd like to respectfully request, I believe our next meeting is scheduled for August 4th.
No, Mr. Mayor, we have to have a meeting on the 21st. We have to have a public hearing for the lighting and landscaping districts. It must occur in order for it to meet the tax roll.
Okay, well then, my comment can wait. So we are adjourned till July 21st, 2020 at 5 p.m.